On YouTube, this is Stash with a theoretical dystopian rant going on today. I'm talking about the rise and the further rise of the psycho-technocracy. This is my latest rant. So, if you read a lot, a huge book in the research community, the underground research community, which is very Promethean. If you're a researcher, if you're an X-File devotee, if you're a Fox Mulder, Sherlock Holmes wannabe, you've probably come across or read Zbigniew Brzezinski's Between Two Ages and the Technocratic Era, which is huge in that underground community. It's a good book if you can get a hold of it. I think it's hard to get a hold of it. So there's been at that time in the 70s when Brzezinski came out with that book, which he's a controversial figure. A lot of guys attempt to blame everything on him. You should read his books, and don't just say he's a one world government guy and dismiss his work. It's all very interesting. Which I'm gonna vlog on that another time. So you combine that word technocracy with psychological control, the study of mass control. You may be familiar with the propagandist work of Bernays. You've come a long way, baby. He was a great ad guy. He basically said, as a feminist, you should smoke. Or I think he's the progenitor of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Tremendous advertising sayings. He was aware of how to do it. So, and that word technocrat or technocratic is popular in big universities. I think a lot of people think that they're there to be the instrument of molding society and the world into an image that they want. It's becoming an expert at manipulating mankind, and they say, well, it's for the best. So what I'm saying is that we're now entering into the next. We're almost entering the post Psycho-Technocratic era. Now they're saying this is the era of the big tech, and which is true. We're moving from a post physical to an internet world and beyond. And if you take into consideration the Raymond Kurzweil's work on the singularity, which some people think is exaggerated, but if we're looking at the Moore's law of the computer power doubling every year, and we're seeing more, like Amazon Echo, you're going to use the Echo. Do people read maps anymore? Can people read maps anymore? You do your GPS, you do your Google Maps. You can now enter a world where you don't go to a physical store anymore and shop, which this could lead to a hollowing out of stores and a big change in the US. People need to confront that issue. So how much do they know about advertising? It's getting more sophisticated, so it's really dog eat dog now, right? You have to know how people think. You need data. You need to collect data, Is it all going to be bad? I don't know. Maybe you're going to be able to get exactly what you want more and more when you want it. But this is combining with the old, like the Mad Men show. I think, were they advertiser guys? Anyway, Mad Men, whatever. The old ad guys, for a long time now, have been experts at creating desire. Creating desire. So we are all get into it. You know, the desires that you didn't have are now created by the ad men, right? The creation of desire, and then it creates. It could potentially create depression, because there's desires that can never be quenched. That's always been a problem for mankind. That's the Buddhist message. Pain. There are many pains and worries. Some of the worst comes from feeling of missed opportunity, which is the social media, right? Everybody's, oh my gosh, everybody puts their best foot forward, I suppose. So you're seeing people's joys, and at some point, I guess it's got to be kind of synthetic. So that was always in the mixed. How Pavlovian, that was the Russian scientist who saw that the dog salivated and for meat when they'd be trained, and how much of a B.F. Skinner was the behaviorist. Do we all live in a Skinner's box? How much do they know now? And how far do you want to take it? They're saying, well, Russia meddled in the election. Okay. You could say that's what the media is saying. So some people are questioning it. The Mueller probe is out now. Even if he says he didn't find anything, will the public thirst for more because a desire has been created? And, well, I'm getting off my central topic, but, will it hit reality? What are you going to do if they did make a war? That's getting off my point. I did not want to politicize. But reality, we're on the era of the tip of reality obliteration. Do you spend more time on the internet or outside? I don't know. The cipher in the Matrix, right? Ignorance is bliss. He was a great character. I don't care if this steak is fake. He wanted the Matrix. He wanted unreality. So that's a thing. And there's a lot of people who are like, I'm going to hike, I'm going to bike, I'm not going to look at the internet, I am shutting off. As a matter of fact, it seems like the more people, people who are really in charge of writing code and doing stuff with IT are actually, I think, off the top of my head, a lot of them are wanting to move away for it the most. So it's getting into a question now of how the temptation to flee reality is huge too. I think it was Noam Chomsky who pointed out, though, that some people say, well, the internet is created, it's wonderful, it's given freedom to the masses, and the linguist, and I think he's referred to as an anarchist or thinker, Chomsky, has said you still have to control, you still have to be among the big, even though they're in decline. The Post, the Times, the huge media outlets, still sort of a lot of information comes from them. Even there's new things where people are connecting with the internet, but the stories still come from a structure that's so. This idea that the internet has democratized everything is under question. Skinner actually said that he wasn't surprised that they or his peers were developing forms of mind control. He was just more impressed by the practical application. And in the researcher world, I don't want to say conspiracy because they won't put this YouTube out there, but okay, the very Promethean researchers, which obviously part of my YouTube channel gets into, and I'm not promoting anything. I just like to ask the questions. I want to ask the questions. Is concerned about mind control, and there is Marx's book. What's the Manchurian Candidate type of ideas. Actually, there was another lesser known work, Operation Mind Control, that dealt with application. And I think Marx, who wrote the I'll leave in the liner notes that the Manchurian Candidate, which was a fictional novel, and he also had a real version of it, wasn't as suppressed as the very suppressed Operation Mind Control book, which dealt with application. So that's what Skinner was saying. He said he was not so much impressed by the laboratory experiments with human subjects, which is questionable in itself, but the success of the technical applications to humans. So at your malls and stores, we're always seeing little robots clean up, and factories are automated. This is going to be, of course, the next question. We all know how much is going to move to centralization. How much should be automated? You don't want to be a hyper Luddite or whatever, and you want to have control. I've heard some interesting things like total democratization with the net. We all vote on there. The people decide everything, and governments and rule over man completely eliminated, if you will. I don't know. So that's my bit. I say now we're living in a post Psycho-Technocratic era. Technetronic era. More than ever, and there's always been in media, since printed page, the ability to make images, which is the Greek myths. Those are things that people do, but at a certain point it reaches ridiculous pseudo events and stuff, which is, there are so many of them that they can create war, a lot of war. But that's the bottom line. Basically, the pseudo events, pseudo heroes, whereby the power of the media can create heroes or villains. Just by taking small clips and bits. Borstein talks about the image makers. Pseudo events. Are you getting tired of it? Love him or hate him, Trump brought up the fact of the fake news, which is interesting. Have you confronted that in your town? Are there do you live in the town or city where the mayor is rich, or or politically connected people put their kid in the newspapers or themselves? Have you witnessed this? Have you witnessed a lot of pseudo events? Is that what late night television is? I don't know. I want to get on. Am I ruining it for myself? But that's the trade-off. We get great comedy at night and great music, and in effect, some of those shows are an ad for the next movie coming out. So there's a reality component too. In order to get tremendous, like Jodie Foster, called out, saying that the Marvel comic book movies are ruining film and cinema, and she makes a great point there. But the reality is that it's fantastically entertaining sometimes too, and appropriate for the times. So it's like, and the trade-off is they to create this massive art, they need to generate income. So there's that too. That's the reality of it. But the worry about becoming so good at advertising and control has long been questioned. Again, I'm sourcing. I noticed I've been I've been reading and sourcing a lot of stuff back from the 70s, because that was it was already getting sophisticated thing, but that's the authors gave out more information, and you wonder if they had more attention to detail too, which is strange, about this stuff, like Brzezinski or Jacques Salou or Daniel Borstein. He wrote a lot of great books, The Creators, The Discoverers, The Seekers. One of my favorites by him is The Image Makers that I'm referring to. It's troubling. So I guess my point is, anybody out there, I never get comments on my YouTubes. Maybe people are afraid. With the net and the power and sophistication of advertising, where's the line going to be drawn? Where's free will? If they are so studied at it, are they going to overcome the spirit? Are we living in the era still of psycho-technocracy? Between two ages, living in a technetronic era. Brzezinski talks about behavior modification, kind of like Aldous Huxley. The sophistication of pharmaceutical drugs, behavior modification. Would change warfare. You get highly criticized for questioning this geoengineering, and yet stories are released about weather modification, and the popularity of movies like The Matrix is evident because people sense there is some reality to these troubling questions. The void is being filled in the Western world by machines. They're even talking about people being in love with robots and stuff. So it's heavy. Have you witnessed any pseudo events, pseudo news in your town? I want to hear about it. Do you think there's anything to the Psycho-Technocracy era? Because I think we're living in the post now. I think they're going into another level, just like Kurzweil said. It's going to be, that was my roundabout point. The technology, he contends, is going to have to enter the body. I dropped that point. This is what this singularity, he refers to often as the singularity. The computer power will become so fast that you'll have to merge with it in the body. Are you for that? And you're going to be like, I haven't downloaded the latest brain thing, so I can't hologram, I can't teleport. I don't know. Or are we in the threshold of the greatest time in history that, you know, it'll be so preferable, everybody will willingly download the Matrix into their head. All right, let me know what you guys think of my rant. Is it lucid? Is it coherent? All right, ciao.